Craving the coffee flavor you love, but without the caffeine? Kachava's got you covered with their newest coffee flavor. This all-in-one nutrition shake delivers bold, authentic flavor crafted from premium decaffeinated Brazilian beans. Quality nutrition shouldn't be complicated. Just 2 scoops of Kachava's all-in-one nutrition shake, and you've got 25 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, greens, and so much more. Whether you're craving that coffee taste to kickstart your morning ritual, or as a nutrient-packed reward to round out your afternoon, Kachava keeps you fueled and satisfied wherever your day takes you. Plus, it actually tastes delicious. No fillers, no nonsense. Just the good stuff your body craves. And for the times you feel like switching it up, you've got 7 flavors to choose from, all with the highest quality ingredients. Treat yourself to the flavor and nutrition your body craves. Go to kachava.com and use code NEWS. New customers get 15% off their first order. That's KACHAVA.com, code NEWS.
Frequency Podcast Network. Stories that matter, podcasts that resonate.
He's in the building!
Drink the moment. Drink it.
I said empty your mind.
Coquettish and coy. Ow. Ow.
What?
Yeah, there's people that are dying.
The wickedly talented.
More than great. It was historic.
Crack is wild.
Oh, good for you.
I have to apologize.
One of the hottest.
Welcome back to The Reheat, a podcast that re-examines the wildest celebrity news and scandals of yesteryear and asks, how would we react to the same events if they had transpired today? I'm Sarah Sahagian.
And I'm Steph Hassan, and this week is another hot off the press. Spring has officially started, guys. Although if you're Canadian, it hasn't exactly sprung. We know the weather is wild and very fickle here. But to keep you busy, we got some quick headlines. Now, Sarah and I's beloved Paradise has fans spinning with its various twists and turns. We literally just did a whole recap together off screen. Now, if you're not watching, you won't care, but Sarah is smugly celebrating that all of her predictions about Dan Fogelman's hit show are coming true. I guess we can't say too much, Sarah.
I don't want to spoil it, but I was right, and I'm never right, and so I'm being very smug.
Basically, if there you know the massive twist that happened on this week's episode, or for you guys, it'll be last week's episode. Sarah knew it. She knew it all along. And I gasped. And I literally in my home was like, Sarah was right. And I love it.
I am
you.
Alex. Alex is me.
You are Alex.
If you watch the show, you'll get the reference.
Yeah. And if you're not watching, watch it. It's very fun. Now, second up, Reese Witherspoon threw herself a star-studded Nashville ball to celebrate her 50th birthday. I kind of love this. Like, yes, be rich and throw a ball for yourself. Make everyone wear gowns to your birthday. Now, Nicole Kidman and Mariska Hargitay were both there, which I love. I know that was a star-studded event. Also, Zendaya won't officially say whether she and Tom Holland are married, but she keeps wearing wedding-inspired dresses to events. Now, here's the thing, though. Her new movie with Robert Pattinson is called The Drama, and it's about a couple who are gearing up for a wedding. So I love that it's kind of like this two-hander where she's kind of playing with us. I feel like she is saying, I'm married, guys. But she's using the movie as an excuse. She's very smart. She's very smart. But I'm going to take it as confirmation. Right, Sarah?
Yeah.
They're married.
No, I want her to be married. So
they're married. They're married.
Okay. Time for the first in-depth topic we're tackling this week. So if you have been on the internet at all over the last few weeks, you know that Lindy West, the famous feminist internet writer, released a new memoir, and it's called Adult Braces. It's officially out. Every feminist I know has feelings. So Lindy made a name for herself writing about lots of different issues for Jezebel in the 2010s. Her work has tackled everything from abortion to her disdain for the movie Love Actually. So she has a lot of range. She also talks a lot about body positivity and fat acceptance. West herself became something of an icon of the fat acceptance movement, and her memoir Shrill was even turned into a well-received Hulu series of the same name, and it starred SNL alum Adie Bryant. So Lindy West has become also somebody who's very famous as kind of like a husband lady, right? She's very famous. I didn't coin that. That was Sachi Kool, who I believe coined husband lady. Anyway, she became very famous for her marriage to this man named Aham. They had this beautiful wedding that was documented in the media. They had this love story. They created this gorgeous blended family. So he had 2 children from a previous relationship. She and Aham and his previous partner raised the girls together. And anyway, it was very aspirational. I would say a lot of people found this relationship very aspirational. She wrote a lot about being a woman who identifies as fat, who's married to a man who is thin and more and conventionally attractive. I mean, Lindy West is gorgeous, but she wrote about the feeling of being with a man who's considered more conventionally attractive. So a lot of people sort of thought, like, this is what I want. This is relationship goals. Anyway, her new memoir completely challenges what you thought their relationship was. You might think that the relationship is better now. You might think that it's worse, but it's definitely different from what we originally thought it was. So here's what happened. Here's the tea. It turns out that when they first got together, West reluctantly agreed to let Aham be polyamorous. So he kind of said, I'm not going to be with you if I can't be poly. And the discussion, I don't love the way the discussion went down.
No,
I don't love it. But she did agree. But she gave him some rules. Okay. Some of the rules she gave him included, like, it can't be anyone I know. You can't do this in a way where people are going to see, right? You have to be discreet. You have to be subtle. So he's a musician. She thought he'd just hook up with people on the road, right? So she didn't want the hookups to be serious. She didn't want to know about them, and she didn't want other people to know about them. Fairly reasonable, right? So this is what they came up with. Well, he did not follow these rules, and the memoir talks a lot about the fallout from that. She talks about how he had an affair with a young blonde woman in their community. She says she's young, and what worries me is that Lindy West won't specify how young, which has me thinking there's a reason she won't specify. And in their community makes me wonder, like, was it like the older sister of one of their daughter's friends, something like that? I mean, she doesn't specify, but it has you wondering, why won't she specify? All she says is, like, if I told you all the details, I could make you hate Aham.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, like, how bad was this? And she refers to this as his most chaotic period, right? And how if she told you what happened, you would see him as the bad guy and her as the victim. But she says it's actually more complicated than that, even though she doesn't tell you the story. So you're left kind of wondering what this man did, right? That is so awful that she won't tell you what it is, right?
Sarah, may I ask a clarifying question? Now, I've been more on the periphery. I mean, I read her first couple books, but I'm not up to date on the key details of the most recent drama. I know enough, but I had read that he was having this affair just shortly after they got married. And when she found out about it, he was like, well, I can't be single. Like, I need to live poly. And that's why she committed to the poly lifestyle, because she didn't want to lose him. Is that accurate?
The timeline's a little bit foggy. I think the blonde girl, is later. He was actually seeing her at the same time he's seeing their current partner, Roya, who did stay in the mix, who was age appropriate and an adult woman. Anyway, so she did have this conversation with him when they were dating still about being polyamorous. And I don't know, the logic she comes up with is very interesting, where and a lot of people have critiqued this because they sort of say, like, well, commitment means something different to him. He doesn't want to feel like someone's property because he's a racialized person. I understand that there are lots of people don't want to feel like people's property, but also I know Lindy West is a white woman, but women of all races have also in many cultures been treated as property when they got married. So it's like trying to say, like, you don't get it because of this difference is a little bit weird. It's like, no, it's just a relationship preference at this point, right? And there are lots of racialized people who are monogamous too, and monogamous the world over, right? Outside of America. So, I mean, I don't know why he didn't just say, this is my relationship preference, not like, but she's kind of left thinking the reason I don't understand this is because of my perspective of being a white woman. And I think the reason she didn't understand it is just because she wasn't naturally polyamorous, right? I think it's just, it didn't, but this whole memoir is her twisting herself into knots to justify why she kind of needed to be forced into polyamory. And in the end, she ends up in this throuple, like an official throuple, letting the girlfriend move into their home and saying, yes, Roya is one of my partners too. And I don't want to doubt that she is happy now, but the memoir documents the lead up to that decision. And the lead up to that decision, she kind of tells Aham, all right, I might be ready to flirt with Roya. I might be ready to meet her. And then Aham goes full throttle into trying to like basically just incentivize them to like hook up and be partners. And she'll even say, why does he have to move so fast? He's always moving so fast. I give him an inch, he takes a mile. Then she kind of blames herself and is like, what is too fast? I have to be forced to do things or else I'll never do anything. So it's a very weird book where she just self-flagellates the entire time and becomes the sin eater for everything that's wrong with her marriage. And it's just a lot of people said it made them uncomfortable. It was referred to as the death of millennial feminism in the Atlantic, which I think takes it a bit far. A bit far. But you know what? Even Roxane Gay weighed in and was like, this dude's embarrassing.
Yeah. Well, this is my thing. I mean, again, I haven't read Adult Braces yet, but I've been aware of pretty much everything else. I've been reading all the pieces, and there was a New York Times profile too that kind of summarized the gist of what's happening. And Lindy, I've always been a fan of as a writer, and I love how vulnerable she's always been in her writing and very relatable. But with this trajectory, the relatability has vanished, right? But it's kind of devastating in a way because it's almost as if all of us on the outside who are her fans, her readers, now all these new people who are just curious what the hell's going on, we're worried for her. It doesn't sound like she's in a good, healthy dynamic. And you're right, she tends to blame herself. And I also feel like Aham is continuously placed on this bizarre pedestal when he sounds consistently fucking awful and very narcissistic.
Yeah. And I mean, there's some interesting moments where she kind of allows herself her anger and then dismisses them. Like there's a scene where she and Aham go on like a couple's vacation and he's not getting out of it what he wants, right? He wants to go on all these really long hikes and she's just not feeling up to it. And then he's kind of getting angry with her. And then she makes this comment like, well, why don't you just go with your girlfriend and I'll pay for it? Which is clearly a nod to the fact that she's the primary ad winner, right? And so he unilaterally kind of decided to be polyamorous and get more serious in these relationships. But like when he's visiting his girlfriends, like she's probably paying for it, right? Like it's family money.
Yeah, it's another element. She's the breadwinner for all three. Aren't they also living in her family home? All of them?
Yes, they're living in her family home. But this brings me to probably the most objectionable thing. Here's what happened. Sachi Cole profiled Lindy West for her new book. It was a profile. Yes, she was talking about Lindy West's evolution into a polyamorous person. So it did mention her partners. It did mention Roya and Aham. But obviously the focus was Lindy because Lindy wrote the book. It was about Lindy's memoir, right? This was the focus. There's no reason why the focus should have been elsewhere if it's about somebody's memoir, right? Anyway, so in response to what I thought was probably the most even-handed of all of the articles on this, sent Sachigul the most inappropriate and upsetting email you can get in the workplace. Like it was just gross. So I'm going to read this to you. I'm going to read the whole thing.
Please. It's nuts.
It's nuts. And also, I think that it just shows you how vulnerable female journalists are to abuse. And I feel horrible that she went through this. Actually, Sachi talks about this herself on the In Case You Missed It podcast. Listen, she seems unfazed. She's pretty unflappable, and I admire that about her, but this should not have happened to her. Anyway, this is what he writes to Sachi Cole. This was a shitty thing to do, Sachi. You intentionally skewed the story to fit your own bitter narrative. You wasted my time and all of our time to write an article that was going to be the same no matter what we said. You absolutely dehumanized me and intentionally diminished my personhood and career. Roya and I were on a shared project in Boston. However you worded it, I was performing 4 shows at the Paramount and Roya is my producer. I'm a person with a life and a great career and a complicated life, and you boiled me down to a cheater who was on a school project making a diorama or some shit because you were mad about your life. You barely wrote about the book. You just wrote rage bait articles specifically designed to direct hate toward me. You are a shitty fucking person. You're a bitter, untalented mean girl, and you should be absolutely ashamed of yourself. You fucking suck.
Oh my God. I had to mute myself because I was cackling at that retelling, Sarah. Thank you.
What is your reaction to that when you hear that? If you received that email, how would you feel?
Listen, I'm appalled. You sent me the podcast episode the other day, and that's when it kind of started to catch up on everything. And when I read this, I was on the subway and I was laughing out loud. My mind is boggled. My flabber is gasted. I just don't comprehend this. He went so far, and for what? And did Sachi just feel like an easier target? Because, as you said, there's been other pieces that are much more critical of him. This one really was not. I didn't think so. I thought it was fine. I don't understand where any of this is coming from, but again, it confirms to me that he's a massive narcissist. Why did we need these details? Why do we need to know that you're performing 4 shows at the Paramount and Roy as your producer? Yeah, I'm like, okay, do you want me to come? Like, what's going on here? He just sounds like a pathetic child having a temper tantrum. And I can't help but wonder if this is what Lindy is being put through. Like, if this is what Sachi got, what is Lindy going through at home? Because we know it's not good.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. And here's the thing. I don't think most of the feminists who are reading this discourse are doubting the legitimacy of polyamory.
No. Well, some
are. But I think most people are seeing this as very similar to what David Harbour did to Lily Allen, right? And Lily Allen's reaction was to write an album that was basically a memoir, but it was unpacking the ways he'd manipulated her and realizing that he was the bad guy. Whereas Lindy West does the exact opposite, right? So she looks at all the manipulation, all the things he did that seemed to be pretty bad, pretty underhanded, just like a guy announcing we're polyamorous, we have to be. This is the only way it works. Sleeping with people you know when he's not supposed to. All of these things. They did similar things, Aham and David Harbour. Similar things. And then Lily Allen comes to the conclusion, you know what, this marriage is not for me. This is awful. And Lindy West is like, I'm going to be even more accommodating now. Now I will support everyone, including the girlfriend you brought into this. And I believe that she loves Roya. I'm not doubting that. But it's just the way the relationship starts that I think makes everyone concerned for her. Because the next time there's a turning point in their relationship, maybe it won't go in a way that is fulfilling for her. And she'll just be miserable, right? Like, I'm actually just worried about the power imbalance in their relationship. And if that's setting her up for a lot of suffering at some point, if not now.
That's the thing, though, sir. I think we're there, and I think we have been there. I mean, Shrill and all of her earlier work was so inspiring to me that whatever you feel about your body, whoever you are, whatever you've been through, that you can still have all the things you want. It was very motivational. And I just thought that she was such a great figure for us to have for our generation of women, particularly as one of the it is true. She's been one of the key millennial feminist voices. This is very much not a feminist experience, but I want to take that out of it because I also don't feel like we have to hold her to it so heavily. However, it's an element in my head where I'm like, we all went through this process with you. And now you're sitting at home. You're putting up with this narcissistic man who I'm not convinced is good to her. In fact, I feel like they probably have quite a mentally abusive dynamic. And I worry about Roya too. Like, how is she experiencing all of this? He certainly seems to have a preference for her, but that doesn't mean that she's not experiencing any of this narcissism. And I just want Lindy to stand up and to leave because this is really difficult to experience as the public. And, what I think is really interesting, Sarah, and I want your thoughts on this, is the way that Lindy has invited the public into her marriage now, right? This has become the biggest story on the internet for the last 2 weeks. And she just keeps on sharing. She's gotten so personal. She's not stopping. And I just think if you're inviting us in this much, can we have this opinion and can we convince you to leave this man? Because why are you in this? I don't understand what she's getting out of it. And I get this idea that I don't want to leave because I don't know that there's a better option out there. I have a lot of friends who feel like that and they're in these relationships that don't serve them. And I think this is kind of that generation where we get stuck like that. But girl, you're better on your own. You told us that for years.
It's an interesting case study on how millennial men are bad husbands because they were kind of raised to be bad husbands, right? And here's the thing. We're an interesting sandwich generation. With baby boomers, even though a lot of moms did work and were really empowered, men were still the breadwinner, right? That was your responsibility. And that was your fundamental rule. You might do less parenting than your wife if you were heterosexual, but people would shame you if you didn't have a job, right? You had to be a provider. And so there was a rule. And I'm not glamorizing that time because there are a lot of ways it was messed up, but they had something to do and something to contribute. And then we kind of took that rule away because feminism said, we shouldn't have to rely on men. Totally agree. But now we kind of have this culture where a lot of millennial men feel like they don't have to do anything because they weren't really raised to be nurturers. So they're not looking after kids as much as women are. We know that that's statistically true. They're not contributing as much, and they're also not the breadwinners. So it's this weird situation where millennial women have to do everything. Like Lindy West is what I call the everything wife, right? Or at least is the beginning, right? Where everything that goes wrong in her mind is her fault, right? Like she's the breadwinner, she's working, she's supporting all these people, including her stepdaughters. And, she even says in The Witches Are Coming, I'm writing this book so our kids can go to college, right? So she is working so hard in TV, writing memoirs. And then she has these really awkward points in the memoir where she talks about how, our car got repossessed because they just didn't have time to make the payments. They just forgot. And you sort of think, well, that's something a hum should be doing, right? You're the breadwinner.
What is he doing? What is he doing?
Exactly. And so in the end, she seems happier almost just because she has a wife, right? She talks about all the things Roya does, and it's the stuff wives have historically done. And so Lindy gets to be like the breadwinner, the way men were in the 50s, and all she has to do is focus on working. And then Roya looks after the home and looks after the bills and does all that logistical stuff. And I'm like, yeah, you're just showing that millennial men, a lot of them are so shitty that, yeah, you do need a wife. You do need to get yourself a wife to make this work.
Yeah, I mean, it was even a big trend for 2025, right? And I myself included, by the way, with a lot of women thinking, maybe we should just stop dating men. It's a humiliation ritual. I've said it before. And maybe we should try dating women if that's something that we're interested in. Like that was a massive conversation last year. So I think, yeah, it's funny because, in fact, she's continuing to prove and be an example of what our generation is going through. So I take issue with that Atlantic headline. But Lindy, please, I'm begging you. Like, I'm worried about you. Please leave. And take Roya with you if you'd like.
Yeah, I was going to say, take Roya. Yeah. You guys can go. And if you want to be in a throuple, you can find a new man, right? Like, it's not like you can't find a dude. Go. I'm not saying never, ever date men again if you want to, but definitely this man seems like he's no good. And just what he wrote to Sachikul, like, Sachikul, you did not deserve that. No one deserves that, but I thought she wrote quite a good piece. And I don't know, he's just mad that she didn't mention the Paramount. Like, come on, dude. It wasn't about you. It was about your wife's memoir. Be proud of your wife.
He doesn't want it to be about Lindy, I guess, but we will link to the podcast, the book, all of the stuff in the show notes. You can dig into it yourself. I don't think this is going to stop anytime soon. We'll probably have more updates in a couple weeks.
We definitely will. Okay, so now it is time for a short break.
Okay, time to talk about the other biggest news piece this week. My God, it's been a week. We got to get into the Taylor Frankie Paul of it all. My God, her season of The Bachelor was supposed to kick off on March 22nd, but ABC has officially pulled the plug, which was shocking to me. Now, why did they do it? Well, if you don't happen to know, if you've been living under a rock, quite a graphic video of her violently and drunkenly going after Dakota Mortensen, who's kind of an ex, kind of not. They're on and off, but he's the father of her youngest child. Disturbingly, the video, which was actually from 2023, ends with Taylor throwing several stools, actually, like proper bar stools. So, like, they're heavy, probably painful. And one of them accidentally hits her young daughter. It's so upsetting. Even before you get to that point in the video, I regret watching the video. It's kind of a brutal watch, and you can hear her daughter crying in the video too. it just gets sadder from there because Taylor alleges that Dakota is the one who actually leaked the tape on her toddler's birthday. He is the one filming it. It's pretty clear in the video. And there's been so much rumored conversation that, of course, he's not thrilled that Taylor's doing the season, right? So there's certainly, it would make sense if he was the one who leaked it. Basically, they're toxic as fuck. Now, the leak did result in Disney canceling her season of The Bachelorette just days before it was set to premiere. I feel like this is unprecedented. The company could lose up to $70 million. Disney positioned pulling The Bachelorette as their way of quote unquote supporting the family as they navigate this experience. But here's the thing, we already knew this happened. If you go back in time, if you are a fan of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, also on Disney and Hulu, you will know that this is a situation that happened between the two back in 2023, and they actually talked about it on the first season. And she was originally arrested for it. It was a whole thing. But I guess it does make a difference when we have video to see, right? Because I feel conflicted myself. I think a lot of fans do, where we knew it happened. We didn't know all the exact details, like that her daughter got hurt in the incident. But when you actually watch it, it's so much harder to digest. I don't know. I find this all quite brutal. And I think ABC pulling the plug says a lot about what their limits are, because we've watched a lot of Bachelor and Bachelorette seasons before, right, Sarah, where there's people there who've done terrible shit in their past. And we know ABC has vetted them. And that's a big rumor right now, too, right? That ABC probably did know about all of this. I mean, again, this incident was not a secret, but they cast her anyway. It's just that the press and the public was losing their minds, that they were like, okay, we got to cancel this. So, sir, what do you make of it? Do we think ABC knew the extent of all of this? Did they just want to get all of the drama and get people watching for that reason? Why did they actually choose to cancel the season? How are they going to make it through? I have a million questions.
Yeah, this is ruled by PR. So I think they thought that this was on the table and we knew this, but it had receded from our minds because most people hadn't watched that episode of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives recently. And so they thought she was just salacious enough to give them the publicity they needed to get people to hate watch. But then hate watching is an art, right? And if the person is too vile, too disturbing, then you just feel like you can't watch, where you're like, this is just sad. So I think because people were given that reminder, they pulled the plug. And also, you know what? You never know what major shareholders did behind their backs, right? If they made a call and they said, hey, you've got a new CEO, you're in a really kind of precarious position by Disney standards, you can't be making risks like that. Do not put this woman on TV. So I'm thinking there might have been calls. This is what I'm thinking. And that it was a business decision. And also might have been investors who weren't paying attention previously, right? Like when she was announced as the Bachelorette, just didn't know who she was. And now they do. And so now they're angry. So it's financial, it's PR. But that's the thing. Them saying, oh, we basically implying that they didn't know about this. They did know about it. They've put it on TV before.
Yeah, you can't say you didn't. I'm fascinated too because I didn't watch the last season of The Bachelorette, maybe the last couple, to be honest with you, and The Bachelor. I've been a little bit out of the loop. And so with Taylor being cast on this season and me loving Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, I was pumped. I was even thinking of hosting like a little watch party. All my friends were so pumped who haven't maybe even ever watched Bachelorette before. This was going to be huge for ABC, basically, and huge for Taylor because she would also be stepping out on her own a little bit and having her own little thing. I think this is like such an insane fuck up and mistake for her. That's what boggles my mind. Like, again, I know that this incident happened a while back, but I also feel like Dakota probably did leak the video. And why is that relationship still something that we're dealing with? And why is she not worked on herself? Like maybe taking some anger management classes, maybe a little bit of rehabilitation. Maybe you shouldn't have full custody. These are all things to think about. And maybe we'll hear about that now. But I don't know, sir, do you think like there was a way for her to come back from this before and now?
No. Okay, I'm just going to say this. I don't want to be mean because I actually, as much as what happens in that video is disturbing, I do have a lot of sympathy for her.
I
right?
do too.
She's been through a lot of trauma and needs help, clearly.
Yeah.
But I don't, when you saw her responding in interviews, because she was doing Bachelorette promotion, right? When you saw her responding in interviews, this woman is just not I know it sounds mean, but I'm just gonna say it. She's not bright enough
No,
to be able to spin it.
it's true.
This woman needs to be completely media manufactured. She needs her PR done for her. She is her own worst enemy because she has these demons she needs to work through. And to her credit, I mean, she's not super manipulative. That's also because I don't know if she's bright enough to be manipulative, right? So she can't manipulate a narrative.
True.
She really just can't.
It's true.
And so her interviews just came off as really sad, I have to say. And I don't know if Dakota leaked it, right? I also don't want to completely vilify him because,
No.
listen, he has his own demons. And I don't know why he was doing it. Was it part of maybe he's hoping to get custody of his son because he's worried about what's happening? I don't know. Like, I can only speculate. But this is a really dysfunctional situation.
It's pretty bad. And we've been seeing it going on for a few years now, which is upsetting. Like, get your shit together, folks. If you want to be able to run a whole season like this, you need to grow up. And I also wonder, to your point, Sarah, where was the publicity team from ABC? Like, I would think that they would have put her through some rigorous training and had somebody in her ear set her up better. Like, I'm really perplexed. Not to go on a whole other aside, but it reminds me of this week. I don't know. Here's another big piece of news. The Pussycat Dolls have sort of kind of reunited, but it's only half the group because they didn't even bother to invite the other women. They didn't want them to be a part of it. They went on the morning show circuit to talk about this. They, of course, get asked, how come it's only a few of you? Nicole Scherzinger can't even form a sentence to answer the question. And my mind again is boggled because where's the publicity team coaching you to have an answer ready for this question? Like, I think these women are being betrayed by their teams.
Yeah, I don't know. And Nicole Scherzinger, like, anyone who's seen The Masked Singer knows she does need to be coached, right? She doesn't always know her.
She puts her foot in it.
Yeah, she doesn't always know her role. Beautiful woman, though. Beautiful woman.
Gorgeous. And very good singer. Very good singer.
Very good singer. Talented, gorgeous. If only we could all age that well.
Yeah,
like,
there you go.
know,
Beautiful
anyway.
gowns. Well,
exactly.
I with this Taylor situation, Sarah, I think the biggest thing here is where the hell do we go from here? Because this is actually pretty unprecedented in some ways. A lot of her cast members are doing quite well for themselves. Whitney Leavitt, like, I don't even have the words to describe that higher up. That trajectory is unreal.
Superstar.
Yeah. So I don't know. Does this spell an end for Mormon wives? Does it mean Taylor will have to leave the show? A lot of the women are saying they don't want to keep filming with her, which is funny because, this cast has a lot of tension between each other too. Like, I can't imagine that some of them weren't like jumping for joy that this all happened so that they can take Taylor out. I hate to put it that way. I just don't know what's going to happen from here. And I usually have an idea. I don't in this case.
No, neither do I. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I think they'll put her back in the show if it cools down enough that they can, because that would be good for ratings and it would create tension. And this show thrives on tension. It is kind of funny because I was always Team Whitney, and Whitney is the villain in the first season.
I hated Whitney in the beginning, man. But I know you were a fan. I know you were.
I always knew she was right. I was always like, because it was public knowledge that this had happened.
Yes.
That Taylor had thrown a chair accidentally, but still thrown a chair at her daughter. And I kind of thought, if Whitney doesn't really want to be associated with this person on a close level, like doesn't want to hang out with this person all the time, I get it, man. I get it. I'm not judging her.
That's true. That's true. In fact, all of them not wanting to hang out with her, I get it. And honestly, one of my feelings too is, having watched this show from the start, I haven't gotten through the whole new season yet, but none of them really seem to gel with Taylor in a way that I feel like Taylor is even interested in. Like, she's such an anomaly in the group. She just doesn't seem to fit in. And I think it's always been interesting that she's sort of been the face of the show. Maybe give her own show now and take her out of Mormon Wives, where we watch her try to get through all this. I don't know. We shall see. I don't know where this is going to go. I will just add that there are quite a lot of rumors that ABC is going to try to quickly get a season together somehow and maybe do a live season, which I don't know if that's going to happen. This is very much a rumor, but there was ideas that maybe they get Layla and another member of the cast to be like a double bachelorette, which could be fun and cute. I'd tune in.
Layla would be fun.
She'd be great.
Layla would be fun. And I don't think she's ever had the opportunity to date, really.
No.
So that I would love to see that.
So would I. And then there was another rumor running that Maura Higgins, who was just on The Traitors, might might be in the running. So I don't know. I don't even know if there's going to be a resurrected season at this point, but we shall see. I'm intrigued. I think either way, they're going to get more numbers than they had originally thought that they would for their first season at this rate.
Well, I think that they will definitely. This is some of the best publicity the franchise has had in a while, in a weird way, because you are hearing people saying, "Oh, I was excited," and maybe now they will turn it in just out of morbid curiosity to see what happens next, right? Who will be Bachelorette? I had also broken up with the series, and we're going to do an episode on Bachelor Nation because there are just too many incidents like this. This is not the first time that they'd given a platform to somebody who had serious issues and anger issues and issues with violence. This is not the first time. And I do think they kind of do it intentionally because those people are more explosive on TV. And so this often happens on The Bachelorette with the men. It's usually the opposite, where there's a guy where he's been accused of sexual assault or something, and he still ends up in the cast. And you sort of think, didn't you vet him? And now I'm starting to wonder if that's the point. They did. And they're like, well, this is interesting.
God, and it just pissed me off too, though, that when it's the woman who's the villain and exposed, we just burn everything to the ground. But before, when it's been the men, who gives a shit? Let's just keep going. I fucking hate ABC. But yeah, please tune in next week, guys, because we're going to go very deep on the franchise. And I've been waiting for Sarah to do this episode for a while, so it'll be fun. Okay, one more headline to run through, and I love this one.
We wanted to have some happy news. We wanted to talk about some blessings. So now we must talk about something that doesn't make us sad, okay? Dear listeners, Leighton Meester with 7 whole chapters of the forthcoming book about middle-aged Blair Waldorf. And you guys, she read them.
This is unreal news. You sent me this and I was dying. I was talking to my sister about it, who's like you, is like a dedicated, diehard Blair fan. And my sister was like screaming about this. We were like, it's happening.
You know how people always say, this is my Super Bowl? This is my Super Bowl.
I know.
This is it.
I know, man.
Or maybe my draft day. I don't know. But like, I'm not sure. I don't know. Like, I have no idea. At this point, Leighton Meester is a free agent, so it's not draft day. But, you know, she can negotiate a good contract.
Sarah, that's
a good contract.
Good.
I'm using the football analogy.
I love it.
Even know how
that's
football
a good
works.
baseball, too. You're there.
Yeah, baseball, too. So here's what happened. In an interview with Screen Rant, so good for them that they got the story, the star who originated the part of Blair Waldorf on the screen said of the project, "I think it's cool. I did read some of it." She doesn't say that much. So I love the way that fans are reacting just with such excitement to her being like, I think it's cool. I did read some of it. That's it. It's not much.
We'll take a crumb, any crumb.
Any crumb. So why was Meester sent the text so early? Okay. So here's what Leighton Meester said. They sent me an advance copy just so I could, I don't know, see what's going on. Leighton, you know what's happening. See what's going on. Come on. It was not out of respect. It was a pitch. This is a pitch to me and to every middle-aged millennial whose family paid for the CW. This sounds like our generation will finally be getting, well, not finally, it's actually coming early, but it's our own version of And Just Like That. Sadaf, what are your thoughts?
Again, I'm so thrilled. But here's my thing. I'm so worried, Sarah, that what if nothing comes out of this? I want it so badly. And like you, I ran a mile with this. Like, I was just like, because here's the thing. On the one hand, they're sending her an advance copy. That means something. They obviously want this to be adapted and with her. Of course they do.
Yes,
the big question is she going to respond to it? And does she even want to revive this character? Because she's in such a different era of her career and life now. But I feel like it would be so smart. She would probably be a producer. She could probably take it however she wants. I'm sure she has to be on board with whatever Blair's life looks like in this future era. I don't know, Sarah. Do you think this is going to happen? Can we like put everything on this? Okay, thank God.
I think it's going to happen. Here's some reasons why. Okay. I think she was given the chapters a while back. I think even before it was announced. This is my conspiracy theory. I think she's putting herself in a position to negotiate the show she wants, right? So we have that moment where she was acting very Blair with Ariana Grande on a red carpet where she was kind of making fun of her. And then she pretends she wasn't making fun of her, but she was, right? And that's like very much what Blair Waldorf would do. Okay, so I think she was giving us that, and all of the articles were like, that's so Blair, that's what she would do. She's also been dressing more like that character, which is not really her style, actually. And I don't know if it's just because she and her husband are having a career resurgence, so better stylists will work with her. But I also think she's intentionally choosing outfits that are giving Blair. And a lot of people have mentioned this, right? Her recent gowns have been very high end, very reminiscent of the stuff that Blair would wear in seasons 5 and 6 when they let her clothing budget just be out of control because she was a princess by that point. I know the show is so weird. We're like, she was a princess.
I know.
She was a princess of Monaco for like 6 months. That's a real storyline that happened on that show. And so the other thing that makes me think that she's going to do this and be an executive producer is she was on the final episode of Penn Badgley's Pod Crushed. Okay. And what's interesting about that is they were talking about their characters. And one of the questions they asked, which would have been pre-approved because it's Penn's show, is, did you think your characters should have ended up together? And they were kind of talking about it, right? I suspect she wants to do the show and she wants to choose which cast members are coming back. Penn Badgley needs money, guys. He has so many children, so many kids. And Leighton Meester, very tragically, her house burned down. And I'm very sad about that, but she also needs money. She talked on Podcrush about how insurance does not pay for everything. She literally talks about that. She's like, the insurance pays for some of it, not all of it. So let these people have their payday. And I suspect, guys, that Chuck is going to be dead if she has anything to do with it. Because I don't know if anyone has noticed, she does not talk about Ed Westwick in interviews. In fact, if you go and watch, Bustle did an interesting video in 2025. And it's, I almost called her Blake Lively, sacrilege. Leighton Meester, do you know your lines? And they're showing her some of her most famous scenes. And they show her something from lots of different projects. But the thing they showed her from Gossip Girl was a kissing scene. And who was she kissing? It was not Ed Westwick. It was Penn Badgley in a kissing scene that no one remembers. No one remembers, right? If you're going to show a kissing scene from Gossip Girl, obviously you choose the season 2 finale where Chuck says he loves her. And then she says, but can you say it twice? And he laughs. And she says, no, seriously say it twice, right? Like that's the most Blair kissing scene. Like, no, tell me you love me again.
But there's also that hot scene in the elevator with Penn Badgley.
Yeah, you could show that. That's not what they show. They're showing one of the more romantic scenes, their first kiss. They show you their first kiss as though their first kiss was the central part of the show. Anyway, so I think she's going to do it. I think she's going to bring Penn with her, her friend Penn, who needs money to feed his family.
This is fascinating because I also feel like, doesn't the Meester Brody household have all that Netflix money now? Thanks to Nobody Wants This. All these people are doing very well. So I'm going to go from the other side of this, Sarah, that I think because Adam Brody is doing so well right now, and it's only raised Leighton Starr, who is also finally doing more and better projects. Sorry, Leighton. Then you're right, because she has been really connected to Penn. They had her on the last episode of the show because they kept saying she was such a fan favorite. But it did feel interesting to me too. It was like a reminder that they're so good together. Like they're so great just on the podcast together, and Penn's doing really well. And he's also he's finally done with Hugh, thank fucking God. And he's got like a rom-com coming out soon with Megan Fahey. I feel like he's perfectly positioned to do something like this with Leighton. But again, I think the big question is, do they want to even revisit these characters? Because so many people don't want to go back and even acknowledge what their past or original, the way that they got into the industry was. So I don't know. I think that's my only worry. But I do think Chuck will be dead. Chuck is going to be roasted, man. He's gone.
Okay, so the solution is everybody right now, you have to stop watching Nobody Wants This. Okay, that is the solution. We have to get that show canceled so this family needs money. And actually, I think what they'll do, she loves working with Adam Brody. So if they're like, we will write in a part, we will bring the universes together.
Oh, for sure.
He can be his character from the OC, who now lives in the Upper West Side and is like, I don't know, progressive rabbi, because her family's kind of half Jewish, right? Her stepfather was Jewish. He'll have a recurring part, right? Honestly, they will pay her so much money. Okay. So much money. Don't you want intergenerational wealth, Leighton Meester?
Yes, Leighton, please.
As Penn Badgley said on Pod Crushed, it is the Leightonaissance. That's what he called it, which I thought was really sweet. And also, she seems to like him, so I think she'd work with him. Don't bring back Eleanor, the lady who played her mother is a big anti-choice advocate and was on the board of Feminists for Life. I know, because that was such a strong progressive character. And in real life, that's not who that woman was.
No,
I
it's
know.
wild. Here's my prediction. If we do get this, and regardless, we get the book, right? So we'll know what happens with Blair. But I feel like all of these key love interests will be gone, including Dan. And then it'll be like a kind of Sex in the City situation where maybe then towards the end, suddenly Dan walks into the room, and it's just like a very last minute thing and a teaser into a sequel. And will it happen? Will it not? Give me something.
Maybe.
Anyway, we can only hope. Guys, start praying.
Start
We
praying.
need
And
this.
here's my pitch for her love interest. Okay. So I've mentioned this to you, Sadaf. This is my pitch. Okay. So Chuck's dead. We need a love interest. Who should the love interest be? Well, the reboot of Gossip Girl was terrible, but it was good for one thing because it brought us Thomas Doherty. And if you have watched Paradise, he is amazing at sex scenes. So I think what we need to do is Blair meets a younger man at an alumni event because they both went to the same school. It's Max, who's reeling from his breakup with new Blair and Aki. He was in a throuple. And then, obviously, because, well, Blair reminds him of his first girlfriend, they hook up. It's really hot. I also have a funny storyline where he tries to create a throuple with her and Dan without them really realizing it. And I think that would be funny. So basically what I'm saying shamelessly is I feel I am entitled to write the show. This is a delusional belief. I believe I should be in the writer's room. A delusional belief that I really, really am going to cling to. So this is my pitch. Hire me. I will write this. I will make this character more feminist. I feel like she always could have been a feminist icon and never was. So give me money. I will do this for free, actually. I will write for you for free, CW. How can you pass that up?
And I will support you for free, Sarah. I want this to happen. Let it happen. Please, for the love of God. And that's this week's episode, I think, guys. Another fun one. And again, watch Paradise because me and Sarah are going to be on it. Now, thank you to all of our gorgeous listeners. We'll be back next week again with a brand new episode, again, diving deep into the Bachelorette franchise. You're going to want to listen. Now, you can listen to The Reheat for free on the Secret app. You can also find the show on the Frequency Podcast Network or wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to hear more from me, you can find me at _Steph Sonser. Where can our listeners find you?
Listeners can find me on Instagram at Zahagian Sarah. And if you like this podcast, please rate, review, and subscribe because that does help other listeners find us too. If you would like us to keep growing, another thing you can do is for you to support us on Patreon at patreon.com/thereheat. That really would be helpful. Anyway, thank you all for listening. We love you all. Have a great week.